Ladies and gentlemen, Westerplatte is a part of Polish and world European heritage, a symbol, a sacred place for Poland, but not only. For the world public opinion, Westerplatte is mainly remembered on account of about 220 Polish soldiers who valiantly defied overwhelmingly superior German forces. Today, I wish to tell you about the history of Westerplatte, just a short sketch, and perhaps consider the plans for the future and the plans of our museum for the future of this place. This is the current aerial view of Westerplatte. It has always been an important point geopolitically and strategically. For instance, in the 18th and 19th centuries, it saw heavy fighting, clashes between the French, the Prussian, and the Russian armies to seize the control of Gdańsk, the port of Gdańsk, and the move of the Vistula River. Westerplatte has a lot of potential, unfortunately unrealized today, because it is visited by about 500,000 tourists a year. After World War I, in 1918, Poland wins back its independence. The Versailles Treaty grants Poland the narrow strip of seacoast with no seaports, and Gdańsk, by the ruling of the Treaty of Versailles, becomes the free city of Danzig, a quasi-independent state under predominantly German influence. But the compromise concerning Gdańsk satisfies neither the Germans nor the Poles. The port in Gdynia is only in its early stages of construction, and Poland desperately needs access to the sea, especially in the light of the 1920 Polish-Bolshevik War. In 1924, the League of Nations grants Poland Westerplatte as the place for shipping, unloading, and storage of military material. While the Germans in Danzig tried to impose numerous hindrances on the transit of Polish goods via the free city of Gdańsk, Westerplatte becomes Polish military transit depot, a tiny piece of Poland surrounded by the hostile Germans in Danzig and a thorn in the side of the Danzig Senate. Here we see a propaganda postcard from the 1930s. In the middle of the German-controlled territory, there rests Westerplatte. In the 1930s, anti-Polish protests escalate and Nazi fanaticism rages in Gdańsk. Danzig is a German city and wants to rejoin Germany, says Adolf Hitler in Reichstag in April 1939. The war seems imminent at that time already. In the meantime, Westerplatte is being secretly fortified and modern military structures are erected, along with the defensive ring of heavily fortified guardhouses and a system of fortified trenches and foxholes called the outposts. Soldiers, arms and ammunition are smuggled inside the depot by land and sea. The cat-and-mouse game between the German police and the depot goes on until the very last minutes of the 31st of August, 1939. On the 1st of September 1939, the Polish garrison on Westerplatte is about 220 men strong. It was supposed to be 88. On the slide, you see an interesting picture. It's a Luftwaffe spy map from August 1939 with potential location of Polish fortifications, marked in red. The 1st September 1939, 4:48 in the morning, Schleswig-Holstein, the German battleship, began shelling Westerplatte and the depot is at the same time attacked by German troops and the Danzig police, with a devastating Luftwaffe air raid on the 2nd of September 1939. Westerplatte is flooded by hail of steel and fire. Almost 27 tons of bombs fall upon this tiny piece of land within mere several hours. The Second World War breaks out in Europe. The Poles, physically and psychologically exhausted, surrendered the depot after a 7-day siege. The Germans are in awe. They had never expected to come up against such fierce resistance on such a narrow strip of land. Later, Westerplatte begins to be called the Polish Thermopylae. Miraculously, some of the depot's buildings are undamaged in the bombing. Just hours after the fighting ceases, on the 8th of September, Polish civilian prisoners, under the supervision of German soldiers, begin to dismantle most of the depot's buildings. They also bury the bodies and clear the landmines. The conditions are grim. The bricks and timber are shipped to what is soon to become an infamous Stutthof German concentration camp. Most of the civilian prisoners working on Westerplatte at that time perish in Stutthof. As we have seen before, after the war, Westerplatte becomes an instrument of communist propaganda. It is gradually deteriorating and over the years changes beyond recognition. Since that time, it generally has been left in the state that we have seen yesterday, more or less. In 2012, Major Ignacy Skowron, the last surviving Westerplatte veteran, writes his last will, in which he expresses the wish of all of his comrades for the proper museum to be founded at Westerplatte. And the breakthrough moment comes when in December 2015, the Deputy Minister of Culture and National Heritage, Jarosław Selin, reactivates the 2008 Westerplatte Museum project to create the modern battlefield museum at Westerplatte. Already in 2016, the very first in the post-war history of Westerplatte, archaeological excavations begin. Funded by the Ministry of Culture, funded by the Museum of the Second World War, these excavations yield an exceptional range of artifacts, over 4,000 items related to the soldiers of the depot, but also to the earlier periods. The peaked cap eagle crest is among the most precious, most heartbreaking artifacts with a strong context. It belonged to one of the defenders and was damaged when the soldier died under the rubble in the Luftwaffe air raid. The said eagle is to be seen on level -3 on the temporary exhibition. These unique artifacts, archaeological artifacts, are a tangible trace of the past, a missing piece of puzzle in a history of Westerplatte, a unique record of the life, the struggle, and the death of the Polish heroes. In black, we have the first stage of archaeological research marked on the map. The second stage, and we're already now in the third stage, and we are hoping for more. Today, when these heroes are no longer among us, Westerplatte needs our care more than ever because it rests entirely upon us, upon our generation, and upon our children to preserve the memory of those tragic events. Brave deeds performed with sacrifice and a sense of duty despite bleak chances of victory must be remembered by future generations to give them proper moral values. However, today, as many of you have seen, Westerplatte displays a shocking contrast, a contrast between the current neglected state of Westerplatte and its significance as a major symbolic battlefield in world history. We therefore face this challenge, how to rebuild and reconstruct this symbolic place without compromising its unique history, an issue, a problem that has already been mentioned by the director in his inaugural speech. The following slides are just some propositions or suggestions of the museum, and they display the buildings that were once part of Westerplatte. And here, for instance, we see the entrance gate, the depot's gate, the brick gate, and a reconstruction of a train station in ruins today. The proposed vision of this place is what you see. We've also mentioned the villa. The villa, for many tourists, is, well, it is non-existent because the building does not exist today. And here you can see the post-battle villa, damaged, but not in rubble. The proposition of the reconstruction or the rebuilding of the place, perhaps joining it with the Defenders Cemetery and with the rubbles or with the remains of Guardhouse number 5 to honor the Polish heroes. Here you see the whole complex, the cemetery and Guardhouse number 5. Another view. The barracks that are still there, blown up by Russian sappers. This is what the building looked like after the war. In the pictures are the Germans with the chests of Polish ammunition. Another building, powerhouse in Westerplatte, left intact after the war, could serve as a temporary exhibition space, for instance. All these planned activities are in need of a wider public consultation and require a broad discussion regarding the form and scale of the reconstruction. These consultations should involve architects, local conservators, restorers, planners, and historians. We, as a museum, are ready to listen to all of those suggestions, and no doubt a compromise can be worked out for what's best for Westerplatte, the sacred, the symbolic place for the Poles, but also for Europe and for the world. We are here aware at the museum of the complexity and the scale of the project, and we know that creating a modern museum is a difficult task, a difficult challenge. Perhaps nothing short of blood, toil, sweat, and tears, as a classic once said. We are happy to undertake this challenge, and we see an opportunity in this difficulty, an opportunity to preserve true history for future generations and remember the heroes and their past deeds, thanks to whom, thanks to those heroes, we can enjoy our freedom now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.